Good afternoon and warm greetings to everyone present here. I am Ibinta Tiuso, a member of ICOMOS India Northeast Zone. On behalf of ICOMOS India, I welcome our esteemed speakers and participants to this joint webinar by ICOMOS India Northeast Zone, NSC Theophilos, NSC Cultural Landscape, NSC Intangible Cultural Heritage, and the Emerging Professionals Working Group in collaboration with Majuli College, Jorhat, titled Majuli, India's Cultural Landscape of Universal Value. A little bit on this webinar today. Majuli is recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's largest inhabited riverine island, located in the state of Assam, midstream of the Brahmaputra River. The government of India in March 2011 had proposed to nominate Majuli for inclusion in the cultural landscape category of the UNESCO World Heritage List. It was shortlisted in the World Heritage Sites tentative list at the World Heritage Committee session in Suzhou in China. The history of Majuli, along with the cultural diversity and natural significance, makes it imperative to have this discussion to ensure this riverine island has a spot in UNESCO's World Heritage List. Today, our esteemed guest speakers are Sri Janardan Dev-Goswami, Sattradhikar, Professor Dambarudhar Nath, Engineer Bharat Chandra Saikia, Dr. Sanjib Kumar Borkakoti, and Srimati Monidipa Borkakoti. I now start the session by inviting the Secretary of ICOMOS India, Conservation Architect Shalini Dasgupta, to give us the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Binta. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start by thanking our Northeast Zone Coordinator, Mr. Dilip Changakoti, to invite me here for this welcome address of this very thoughtful webinar topic. I think Majuli, as Ibinta mentioned, was nominated in the inclusion in the World Heritage Tentative List in 2004. And it's been quite some time. From 2004, we are in 22. So we are, we've kind of many years we've lost, and we still, Majuli has not been inscribed within the World Heritage Site. So I hope that the outcome of this webinar will lead us to the inclusion of Majuli within the World Heritage inscribed properties. So this 2-day webinar actually focuses on what I saw in the program, which has been developed by by the organizing committee. Varied aspects of Majuli are being touched here. We are going to be listening to the history of Majuli, socioeconomic profile, various types of significances, especially the spiritual significance. We are going to be listening to about the intangible cultural heritage, how the dossier was actually put together, and the bottlenecks and the remedies that we require actually to take this whole case forward. So I think it's a very, very important webinar topic, which the Northeast Zone has put together along with our different NSCs, multidisciplinary NSCs, which are contributing to this webinar, along with our EPWG representatives also. So I think we also in ICOMOS India, this is a very interesting format also, because this sort of interdisciplinary give and take of knowledge between various types of NSCs is also very, very important. So here we are going to look at intangible cultural heritage, Theophil, and cultural landscape. All the NSCs are going to be contributing to this webinar, along with people from our Northeast Zone, and EPWG has supported the event. So that's a very interesting format. So I congratulate all the people who have put together this webinar. And I won't take too much time, and I would just, look forward to a very interesting discussion and, give and take of knowledge on Majuli. And I just hope that the outcome of the webinar will lead us to, putting some pressure on the state party to take on Majuli as, the next, so that gets inscribed very quickly. All the best to all the, participants and the speakers here. Thank you. Over to you, Abhinta.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So now we start with our first speaker. We now invite our esteemed guest speaker, Shri Janardan Dev-Goswami, who will be giving us a talk on the topic Spiritual Significance of Sattra Institute of Majuli. Sir, over to you.
To all the light to the offer my well history to the all these distinguished guests of the present of here. Thank you. Jai Guru Hankaro Harva Gunakaro, Jakiri Nahi Unupam, Tuhari Sarane Renu Patakuti Bar Koruho Pranam. The Sattra Institutes of the Assam are a premium socio-cultural and religious organization of the Assam. Sattra institution of the totally in the originally development to the Bhakti movement in Assam. For proposition of Bhakti movement in Assam, the Sattra institution where its previous establishment duration 14th and 15th century. They established by the Mahapurush Srimanta Shankardev and Madhavdev, the holy place of the new Vaishnavite Majuli recorded to great historical meeting of the great two new peninsular saints, Sri Sri Shankardev and his chief devotee Sri Madhavdev. The place of this meeting has given to the name of the Jorhat Belguri. At this time, the present of the 36 Sattra in the Majuli. The Sattra are Sri Sri Avniyati Sattra, the Kinpat Sattra, Uttar Kamalabari Sattra, Bhogpur Sattra, Natun Kamalabari Sattra, Madhya Majuli Kamalabari, and Gormur Sattra. Is the seventh Sattra is this Udasin Sattra. Udasin, the unmarried Sattra. The 29th Sattra, married Sattra, by Gyasti Sattra. This celebrates festival according to section in this month. Guru Kirtan, Palnam, Raslila, Hakwa, Janmastami, etc. All the Satras religious principles extra Nam Dharma, where it is not only traditional 9 devotion praise of the Bhakti Marg, worship Lord Vishnu. The heart of this Satra, known as the Sattradhikar, who is this religious head and spiritual guide. The Bhakti led the revelation life unusually for how to live indoors this Satra campus is Bhakti. The Sattradhikar presence is marked by the Korapat, Namghar, Manikut, Jorhat. This Satriya Cultural Institute of Centenary of like a music, dance, drama, or writing letter. Especially the special significance of Sattra is a remaining intact in the south end area that it still new down in the element of teaching advantage of reality. This divided atmosphere of the Satra are the projects support by this self-development Lord Krishna, if one they wanted sessionable from this mundane. Existentially, it is only through bhakti or devotional to this or she can intentionally love to get it nam kritam. Sattra has become to the contrast with a divine congregation in the large number and join the prayer to God. This has imperative and sense of the unity among the people, moral, right atmosphere, and atmosphere. Devotional thought to Nam Prasangam make this spiritual atmosphere. This Nam more high level is love to the and the spiritual matters and the spiritual history. We find most effective where with the realizes our strategy through meditation will define the perfect balance and the life as we develop body, mind, and spiritual meditation, dedication, and selfless foundation of the crying negative. Will the ability to start to compose the monistic cultural different modes of the seeing the majestic world of the institute shows as Ras and Hauna, Ras Kirtan, River to Delhi, she will speak the fragrance of spiritual name Devante. All the base, your Sattra is become this all the base. You organized by seminar, you organize in all the things for my our Sattra is all the base. You come to the recognize this Sattra is thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. If anyone would like to ask any questions, you can drop it in the chat box and we can have a discussion towards the end of the program. We now move on to the next speaker. We will have Professor Dambarudhar Nath from Majuli. A little bit on Professor Nath. He was born on the 1st of September 1954 in Majuli. Professor Nath had completed his schooling and collegiate in Majuli. He has an MA in Ancient Indian History and Culture from Dibrugarh University and was awarded a gold medal. Professor Nath was the chairholder of the Sri Sri Aniruddha Deva Chair, Dibrugarh University since 2008. He also held the Srimanta Sankara Deva Chair at the Tezpur Central University, a life member of the Indian History Congress and the Kamrup Anusandhan Samiti. Professor Nath was one of the few founder members of the Northeast India History Association in 1979. He is the first Vice Chancellor of the Majuli University of Culture, Majuli. Professor Nath's The Majuli Island Society, Economy and Culture is his magnum opus and is read all over the world. Today, Professor Nath will speak to on the topic Historical Background of Majuli.
So, namaskar to everyone present in the meeting. Which my thanks to the organizer for kindly inviting me to attend this August gathering on Majuli. I would like to present my historical narratives of the island in a very brief manner. Had I been given half an hour time, I could have read out the main points of my paper. But since I have to conclude within 15 minutes, I shall be pointing out only the major aspects of the historical developments of the island. In my paper, I have dealt with certain aspects of historical development of Majuli. Certain aspects. For example, early history of the island. People believe, as far as I understand, when the dossier for the Majuli's cultural heritage site demand has been prepared and it has been examined by the UNESCO appropriate bodies. History of Majuli has been presented in a way it seems unprofessional. There are two theories. Actually, not theory. People popularly suppose, that Majuli was created as an island in the last part of the 18th century. My hypothesis is that that is wrong. Archaeological evidences supported by Puranic information, I mean the Puranic literature of ancient Indian literary groups, lead us to a presumption that the major process of creation of the island was completed by at least the 10th century CE. And as far as the shape of the island and with the name Majuli is concerned, it took at least by the middle of the 16th century. That means by the middle of the 16th century, the island was completely created and the name Majuli has been applied to mean the island. As far as the territorial and geographical history is concerned, everybody knows that some point of time in the past, at least till the time of the British, the island was a very large island, extending as much as 160 miles in length from Tekelifutar Mukh. I mean, the point where the river Dihing now falls on the Brahmaputra. From Tekelifutar Mukh on the north of the Brahmaputra to Koliabar in the west in present Nagaon district, it was about 60 miles in length in the close of the 18th century and about 16 miles in breadth at the same time. Historians, I should say, some scholars, some scholars on the basis of some wrong information believe that Majuli was 60 miles in breadth during that period. My question lies in the fact that 60 miles means from Jorhat town at present to Lakhimpur town. The whole span, aerial distance may measure about 60 miles if you take the whole range of breadth across the Brahmaputra. When it was a typing error, it should be 16. People read as 60 because the man who wrote first, he did a wrong thing. So this great island, this large island is now reduced to a very mini island. It, according to the district administrative record, it is hardly 480 square kilometers at present in area and hardly 75 to 80 kilometers in length from east to west and hardly 15 kilometers in breadth from north to south. So this is how from 160 miles in length, it has been reduced to only 80 kilometers in length at present. That has happened within last 100 and some years. And so far the name Majuli is concerned, some scholars believe that the name Majuli has been preceded by the name Mazal. They explain that the strip of land lying between the Dihing and the Brahmaputra was earlier called Mazali, and when it was surrounded in all directions by water mass, it became Majuli. The theory is simply wrong because Mazali cannot be formed in Assamese language. It is a wrong formation. And the name Majuli and the word Mazali has been found in a single document so many times. Even the name Shonkardev has been misspelled and miswritten in so many records of ancient Indian, ancient Assamese manuscripts. So it is not Mazali that it has preceded. It is a form of linguistic vocabulary that was used by people, or it was a kind of spelling error on part of the copiers. The name was never Mazali. The name is Majuli, and the term Mazali did not precede the name Mazali. And so far the political history is concerned, we do not know actually what was the political situation of the region around Majuli prior to the coming of the Ahoms in the early 13th century. But when the Ahoms came to the Brahmaputra Valley in the early 13th century, the land was dominated by the Bhuyas. Bhuya means a landlord class of medieval Assam. Shonkardev therefore took it as an advantage for his shelter when he came from Nagaon to the North Bank and then from North Bank to Majuli. He took the Bhuya settlement as one of his advantages for his shelter and proselytization of his sect. Majuli became occupied by the Ahoms in the early 16th century. Prior to that, some scholars believe that Majuli was under the rule of the Sutiya kings. But documents supporting the rule of the Sutiyas in Majuli has been very insignificant. But so far Ahom occupation is concerned, Bhuya domination is concerned, they are all supported by the historical records. After the Ahoms, Majuli also experienced, I should say, the different historical developments during this period when the Ahom rule was there. These historical developments included the Muamoria rebellion in the second half of the 18th century, when the rebels devastated Majuli, destroyed the Hotras, killed a number of Bhakots in the Goromur and Auneti Hotra, and many of the Sattradhikaros, including those of Dokhinpat and Auniati, left Majuli to take shelter elsewhere. Majuli also experienced the Burmese invasions. During the Burmese invasions, people alike all over Assam suffered the same things. And Majuli too was a part of the sufferers of the Burmese invasions. In the freedom struggle, the Sattras supported the British, except Dev-Goswami, the Sattradhikar of Goromur Satra, who opposed and contested and joined the freedom struggle. And under his leadership and a few others, people of Majuli joined the freedom struggle and participated equally with the other people of the state. And during the British respected, honored the Sattras and Sattradhikaras and its culture. And there was no untoward incidents during the British in Majuli. After the British, during the national government, Majuli became a part of the then Sibsagar district. And when the district of Jorhat was created, it became a subdivision of Jorhat district. And after that, it has become an independent small district of Assam, with and it is now an assembly constituency for Assam Legislative Assembly and reserved for the tribal candidate from here. So this is how political history begins, at least recorded history begins from the early 10th to 11th century down to the 21st century when it has become a district. So far cultural history is concerned, Majuli's cultural history is confined to some very important developments. The island of Majuli was the place of domination of the Buyas prior to the foundation of the Ahom administration over it in the 16th century. And Shonkardev took it as an advantage for settlement and propagation of his tenet of bhakti. Shankardev's visit to the island from across the Luit River on the north and staying here for some time was a fact. While in the island, he had also the opportunity to come with the contact of Madhavdev, the second pillar of the Bhakti sect of Assam, next to him. Both the saints stayed here for more than a decade, during which not only they proselytized people, but also composed songs, poetries, built namghars, organized congregational prayers, and so forth. Then, in the year 1546, they left the island, began for Kamrup, then under the coasting. So after Shonkardev has left, the Ahom kings took Majuli for establishment of the Sattra institutions. They were recently Hinduized and became ardent supporters of Hinduism. They established certain Sattras with patronage of all sorts, including land, men, and material. Most important of them were the Audete Satra, the Dokhinpat Satra, Goromur Satra, Kamalabari Satra, Bengalati Satra, and so forth. Some were established with the active support of the Ahom state. Some were established without such support. Most interesting fact is that there was no Satra of the Mayamora sect in Majuli. This is because of what I have already told about the havoc created by the Moamoria rebels, that the name Motok has become an enigma to the people of Majuli since inception. So the Satras converted Majuli into a Vaishnava center with its accompanying culture, that is Bhavana, Namkirtan, Nritya, Hangit, the art of manuscript writing and painting, wood carving and mask making, and above all, beliefs and practices. In the final, therefore, it were the Satras which shaped the culture, the behavioral pattern of the people, and above all, the value systems it has so long upheld. Expansion of Christianity in a few tribal villages and emergence of Islam in a far lesser extent are some recent developments only. So far intellectual history is concerned, as a sacred site dotted by the Satras, Majuli has the credit for the production of hundreds and thousands of manuscripts written in both Sanskrit and Assamese. And Satras are the storehouses for their preserve. It is known that Shonkardev himself has composed a few of his works, including some parts of his Kirtan Gupha, during the time when he was in Majuli. This tradition of the writing of the manuscripts and preserving them became a hallmark later on in the intellectual history of the island. It may be noted that in this line of intellectual tradition, Dev-Goswami of Auneti Satra published the Assam Vilasini as early as 1871. Dev-Goswami was the first among the Assamese to purchase a printing press and publish a journal as early as 1871. This tradition of the intellectual history has still been noted in the overall literary makeup of the society. With the growth of modern education, schools and colleges have come up, and within the last few years, also a university. As far as environmental change and development is concerned, it relates to both environment, the forestry, flora and fauna, and agriculture. And it is in the field of environmental change that drastic changes could be noted in the Majuli Island during the last 100 years. As far as British records are concerned, it has been recorded that Majuli was a forested land, full of animals, including rhinos, full of birds, including peacocks, and so many other birds and animals. There were abundance of milk, grazing lands, animals, and milk products, including fisheries and fishes. But as a result of the cutting down of the jungles, expansion of the territorial settlements, growing marketing and urban places, the bills, the ponds, the tanks, the dead river channels, and every other natural properties have been attacked by human settlement, including the mode of use of the building materials. Submerged by annual floods, Majuli as a whole was fertile land, allowing all types of agriculture to grow and flourish. Being affected by flood annually, agriculture here was designed to adapt to the topographical situations. Particular reference may be made to rice, which forms the staple crop of the island. Ahu and Bao were the two major varieties of rice grown in the island, Thali being cultivated in lesser amount as the flood-prone island did not provide enough protection to its doing. Among the other crops grown here are the mustard, sugarcane, and varieties of pulses. However, the nature of agricultural activities has been slowly changed, as layers of embankments built all around the island prevent flood, making the major landmass of the island a dry zone like the Netherlands. One of the major embankments thus built, which has greatly changed the environmental situations in the island, is the one built in 1968 across the northern channel of the Brahmaputra, blockading its flow permanently, and thereby making Majuli a connected part of Lakhimpur district. This embankment altered the geographical history of Majuli, affecting the identity as a riverine island. So then geography, religion, demography, and culture. In those fields also we could see the changing pattern of development. Geographical isolation of the island has serious impacts upon shaping its society. Cut off from the mainland of Assam since inception, the only way to go out of the island to the other places of the state was the country-made boats, sometimes made of a single trunk of the tree, and sometimes by sticking the wooden planks. In both cases, they were manually driven till recent times. Necessarily, it was not easy to cross the river by such boats in all the seasons equally. It was unimaginable, particularly in the summer seasons, when the Brahmaputra appears like a sea. Similarly, people from outside also dare not to visit it frequently unless there was some urgency. The result was limitations in two ways: limitation in the thoughts and behavioral pattern inside, and limitation in social connectivity and knowledge about it in the outside. Necessarily, the kind of behavioral pattern developed in the society of the island, which marked the nature of the people, and a sense of fear grew, which debarred the outsiders to visit it. This separation between the insiders and outsiders caused by geographical barrier resulted in the creation of some absurd ideas outside about the people of the island, thus developed various ridiculously designed terms and phrases that were applied to mean the people of the island. As a matter of fact, writing about the society of the island in the beginning of the 20th century, the British gazetteer recorded that an old air always pervades over the island. Now, this is more or less is the situation that still characterizes the island society. While geographical and topographical situations have shaped the mind of the people, They have also shaped their food and dress habits. Their behavior and thoughts, beliefs and customs, words and vocabularies, and above all, their response to the outsider. The force of religious belief has contributed in a more effective way towards shaping the culture of the people since at least the early 16th century. The tradition that the two saints first met with each other in this island is still popular here as an event of heritage nature, which marked the turning point in the religious history of the people. It may be mentioned that the Bhakti religion believed on one single and supreme God, making it a monotheistic belief, and rejected the importance of all other deities and rituals connected with their worship. Particular emphasis was laid on the encouragement and maintenance of the method of non-violence, so that the worship of Durga Devi, which is done with sacrifice of birds and animals, could be rejected. The essence of Durga Puja in its totality in Majuli is still the tradition of the society, which has made it so distinguished all over the world. Interestingly, of late, attempts were being made to introduce it there on the ground that if Christianity could be spread in the island, why not Durga Puja? It is clear that the heritage character of the island society, if at all there is any, shall soon be jeopardized, and little of its sort may survive in its life and culture in the ensuing times. In fact, the thing which once was a reality has now come to be a myth. Majuli is also known for its tribal population and their culture. Among these tribal communities, the most numerous are the Missings, who form about 75% of the total tribal strength of the island. Known for their colorful cultural life, they provide major strength to the rural economy of the island. At present, the Deuris form the next tribal group, whose strength is not much countable, similar to that of the Sonwal Kosaris. The only distinction they all have in common is the continued cultivation of their own cultural pattern and religious belief systems. So we now come to the conclusion. The name Majuli is woven in the fabric of Assamese culture since at least the days of the two great saints, Shankardev and Madhavdev. Assamese people maintain a strong sense of reverence towards the island for its geographical specificity, the Sattra institution, and its cultural identity. We must remember that it was from here that Shankardev had propagated the principle of non-violence, prohibiting all forms of killings and violence committed upon animal beings in the name of religious belief. I believe after Buddha, before Gandhi, Shankardev was perhaps the second man to propagate non-violence in the soil of Bharatabarsha, to say to the world that by killing animals, if somebody goes to heaven, who else is going to the hell? Whether or not Majuli would survive in future with all its distinctiveness, it is an undeniable fact that despite changes and developments, it still holds an honorable place of heritage value in the minds of our people. So this is how my hypothesis is that Majuli has a long history of its creation, history of its environment, history of its economic, culture, population, and politics. All forms of aspects have undergone tremendous changes during at least the last 100 years. The result of these changes is the attack upon its heritage value. The more important of the factors which have led to the changes is the building of the embankments, layers after layers, all around, preventing flood, creating a dry zone, attacking the environment, and other aspects. So, if this is to be continued, then whatever amount of heritage character has been there may still vanish within near future. So we should take care of it. Before we demand for a cultural heritage site, we must equally demand the protection of its character. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that very insightful look at the historical background of Majuli. We now invite our next speaker, Engineer Bharat Chandra Saikia. A brief introduction on Mr. Saikia. He was born on 1st July 1947 in Majuli, Assam. He has finished his schooling from Majuli, his pre-university from JB College, Jorhat, and Bachelor of Engineering from Jorhat Engineering College in 1970. He served in the Irrigation Department, Government of Assam from 1970 till retirement in November 2006. He is involved in social, cultural activities in Majuli from his student days. Engineer Saikia specifically took up the protection and development issue of Majuli Island, both in national and international platforms, and the available preliminary recognition as World Heritage Site from UNESCO. He has been the secretary of the NGO Majuli Island Protection and Development Council since 1996 to 2019. And at present, he is the executive president of this organization. He has been contributing his services and attention to the overall development of Majuli Island through this organization. He has published Ratna Garba Majuli in 2002 and Garmoria Sattradhikar Pitambar Dev-Goswami and Yan Ansan Parba. And today, Engineer Saikia will give us a talk on the topic bottleneck and remedies of Majuli as UNESCO World Heritage Site. Sir, over to you. Just kind reminder to that the presentation will be for 15 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. No problem. And best wishes to all the viewers and members of this meeting. Myself, Bharat Saikia, a Majuli board engineer, dedicated for the purpose of protecting Majuli right from childhood. Now, my subject is bottlenecks and remedies. Bottlenecks of Majuli World Heritage Site proposal and its remedies. Before going to the main subject, I like to utter one caption word sentence. Before 7 to 8 years, one of the most clever TV personnel, Minal Talukdar, took me to his studio and grilled me with several complicated questions. And at the last, he asked me one question. Dada, do you think that Majuli is fit for World Heritage status? Then I looked to him in astonishment and asked him one question. Kindly, before asking me this question, kindly answer one question from my side. Can you name one place in this earth which is much fit to be a World Heritage Site than Majuli? Then Talukdar would not reply and he simply laughed. This is my caption. Majuli Island, the question of World Heritage Site was first raised in 1997. And right from that time, still the proposal of Majuli World Heritage Site is still inscribed in the list of UNESCO. UNESCO has not remove the list. It is still maintaining. That means Majuli still maintains the character and capacity to be a World Heritage Site. Now, my question is bottlenecks. In the year 1997, when the first nomination dossier of Majuli Island was prepared, this is the first nomination dossier. When it was prepared, we had not found any word, learned any word like bottleneck. It is a very new word for me. And for a man like me, it bears no meaning. Bottleneck. What is a bottleneck? At the beginning, there was no bottleneck. I have prepared this nomination. Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma MP and Karuna Datta MLA Majuli signed with me on the nomination. And we took it to the Deed and Ship Minister and presented it to the Ship Minister. It was on 28th of January, 1998. Ship Minister then, within 3 days, sent it to the central government with a forwarding letter to Murali Manohar Joshi ji. And after 7 days, he took a meeting in New Delhi and declared Majuli as a World Heritage Site. He prayed to everybody that kindly declare Majuli as a World Heritage Site. And from this day, that day, the question of Majuli's World Heritage Site is still roaming in the air. After receiving this nomination, central government took a committee, very high-level committee, and inquired and personally investigated all the data, all the informations I have incorporated here, and they found it all right. And everybody of them, Mr. Saule and Mr. Das. Mr. Das was from Forest and Environment, and Saule was from Archaeological Survey of India. Moreover, one Mr. Addl Sharma, who was subsequently a member of Planning Commission, he is an economist, he also came and found, seen Majuli and verified all the information and data I have incorporated. And they found it all right and recommended. After recommendation, there was the question of a proposal for preparing a final nomination dossier. Myself and Mr. B.C. Patwari, my friend, NIH Regional Director, we prepared a budget of 15,000 Markin dollar for it and sent it to the Government of India. Government of India recommended this nomination to UNESCO, and on the next year, UNESCO's meeting, where India's Minister Murali Manohar Joshi and our MP Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma were personally present in that meeting. That meeting recognized Majuli as a World Heritage Site, proposed World Heritage Site, and the 15,000 Markin dollar we prayed for. They recommended 20,000 Markin dollar. Here is the paper. Here is the paper. This is the paper. They recommended 20,000. When I asked, what about the 5,000 Markin dollar? Then they replied that during preparation of nomination dossier, 3 experts from UNESCO will visit Majuli, and it is their TADA, etc., for their TADA, etc. However, we were lucky that very immediately we got Mr. Angel Hart, the Asian Pacific country UNESCO advisor, with his office at Bangkok. He came down with Guwahati University professor Medhi with a team of students to Majuli. For a long 3 days, he visited Majuli, seen everything, and he gone through every detail. How the big pillar, wooden pillar of Majuli Dokhinpat Sattra come down from the upstream, and Dokhinpatia Bhakat take this piece of wood from river and make this big pillar. Angel Hart tried 2-3 times to grab it with the permission of the Sattradhikar. However, Angel Hart, at the time of leaving Majuli, he recommended that Majuli case should be listed as cultural landscape type. This is a new pattern, and he hoped that Majuli will be the first of this kind in India, cultural landscape type. Because he found in Majuli that entire landscape is the cultural landscape. Entire landscape is the cultural landscape of Majuli. However, we proceeded, and afterwards, Bruce Jefferies, a New Zealander, UNESCO expert in natural site, he came to Majuli. Actually, he came to Manas. When Dr. Sharma heard it, he telephoned to me that one Mr. Bruce Jefferies with Anmol Kumar from New Delhi, they are proceeding to Manas. Please contact them and try to take them to Majuli. And I immediately contacted them in Guwahati, gave them some presentation from Majuli's side, and requested them. Then Bruce Jefferies visited Majuli. He was so glad that he highly recommended in his report. If you like to see, I have all the reports, all the papers. What Angel Hart wrote in his own handwriting, what Bruce Jefferies wrote in his own handwriting, I can produce. I am preserving it for future guidance of the coming generation. And Bruce Jefferies also recommended, and he discussed in detail. Then I told to him that I am a simple civil engineer, To write one World Heritage nomination in detail, a conservation architect is required. I proposed the name of Surajit Joradhara, a conservation architect from Assam. He was with the team, our team. We produced him, myself, Sarukamal and Bipin Patwari, produced him before, and that is Bruce Jefferies. Bruce Jefferies in his report recommended that one Mr. Surajit Joradhara may be entrusted with this job because this Saikia is a simple civil engineer only. However, things proceeded and Nolini Thakurji, she was entrusted. Oh, next, central government Secretary Culture and Tourism and Gopalasam with Archaeological Director Madam Gupta Menon. They came to Majuli, seen Majuli for 2-3 days, and they hold one meeting at Majuli College premises, where still Majuli College is holding the nerve of Majuli's World Heritage Site proposal is started on that day. Majuli College auditorium ने वो मीटिंग हुआ. गोपालास्वामी को हमने रिक्वेस्ट किया कि सर, the questions are now coming towards very high level. We are simply NGO. We cannot do all these things. Kindly take up this matter from government side. Then he accepted my proposal, and it was decided in Majuli College meeting itself that ASI on behalf of Government of India will prepare the nomination, and MIPRC, Majuli Island Protection and Development Council, where I am the General Secretary by that time, will help in all aspects. We did like this accordingly. And proposal, the final proposal with Nolini Thakur, Surajit Joradhara, with the help of Bharat, Saikia, Arun Sharma, etc., arrived at UNESCO. Had this nomination, had one decision of Government of Assam was half an hour earlier, that is the question of passing one Cultural Landscape Act in the Assembly, if it was done before 1 hour, then in the UNESCO meeting, in the same evening, would have used the word sanction. But we were late, and unluckily, the things were postponed to the next meeting. Similarly, in all the meetings, we are helping, and in 2012, one Mr. Murthy of Andhra Pradesh, a conservation architect, with his organization Sattra, they prepared the nomination. We helped him a lot, but unluckily, here the word bottlenecks comes. Unluckily, ASI had only sent 2 copies of the nomination to the UNESCO. Actually, 3 copies are to be sent, and out of the 2 copies, 1 copy doesn't have some very important chapters, and UNESCO immediately rejected the proposal, postponed the proposal, and told it that in the next meeting of 13th, it will be decided and make it all right by any means. However, in August 2012, there was a meeting in ASI. Myself, that Janardan Murthy, Upper Assam Commissioner Iftikhar Hussain, ADB College Professor Borkakoti, and Dambarudhar Nath were invited. Dambaru could not attend because of some his engagement in university. We attended. It was decided that immediately the correction of the nomination will be done with the help of such and such and such. But that day had never came.
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
it's almost time. It's just one
Yeah.
more minute left.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello, sir.
I am speaking 1 minute more.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the first hindrance or bottleneck. Governor of Assam took it exceptionally, and he took a meeting and told something to the ASI that you have sabotaged Assam and sabotaged Majuli. ASI people could not reply. Dambarudhar Nath was also present in that meeting. However, it was the second. And the third point is flood protection work. Flood protection work of Majuli, whether Majuli will exist or not. Probably when you will search all the papers, there is a certificate from Government of Assam that Government of Assam is committed to protect Majuli at any rate or scale. Government of Assam is committed. And as such, land connection also figures as a hindrance. But for us, I think land connection should not stand as a bottleneck. In this present world, no people should be kept disconnected from the present civilization, modern day civilization. Installing one bridge on the mighty river Brahmaputra does not mean that Majuli's cultural landscape will go overnight. This conception is wrong. I, as a Majulial, deny this conception. And for other, that is bottlenecks, just Government of Assam, right from 2014 to this day, is continuing preparation of World Heritage Site nomination of Majuli. But people of Majuli is not getting any nomination or not getting any information at what stage it is now. I think Government of Assam should be more positive, 10 times more positive than present, and proceed in this work with the help of intellectuals and Sattradhikars, people of Majuli. As I told you earlier, that bottleneck
Excuse me,
is a
sir.
word which we should not care for. We should
Excuse me, sir.
proceed.
Sir,
Thank
sir,
you.
1 minute is up. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We now go on to the next speaker. We now invite Dr. Sanjib Kumar Borkakoti to deliver a talk. A little bit about Dr. Borkakoti. Dr. Sanjib Kumar Borkakoti has authored more than 60 books on education, culture, development issues, literary criticism, philosophy, etc. His book, Majuli, Resources and Challenges, were counted by several portals of India as one of the important books published in the entire country. He is the president of Society for Srimanta Sankardeva, an organization engaged in promotion of Srimanta Sankardeva's legacy. He is an expert member of the International Committee on Intangible Cultural Heritage. He is a desk reviewer of World Heritage nomination dossiers submitted to UNESCO. He is also a member of Delphic International Council, which promotes art and culture globally. He has been conferred Sankari Satya Sankriti Award by Jorhat Sahitya Sabha for his works on literature and culture. Today, Dr. Borkakoti will deliver a talk on the topic, Majuli's Intangible Cultural Heritage and their potential as a World Heritage Site. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Evinta, for the nice introduction. Please share my PPT.
Yes.
I'll be talking about the intangible cultural heritages of Majuli. Till now, we have been talking about that tangible thing. Bharat Saikia was talking about how Majuli had been nominated for World Heritage status. That was for the tangible island. But I'll be talking about the intangible cultural heritages, which can be included, which can be inscribed in the representative list. There's a lot of scope. Majuli is the world's largest inhabited freshwater river island. As you all know, it is situated in the midst of the Brahmaputra River. The exact location is between 26.45 degree to 27.12 degree latitude, and between 93.39 to 94.35 degree longitude. The population in 2011 was 1,67,245. The land area as of 1971 was 924.6 square kilometer, and including the small islets, it is 1,246 square kilometer. The current land area is 515 square kilometer. That shows how the erosion has damaged the island, reduced it. There are now 22 Sattras in the island and 243 villages. Professor Nath has already spoken about the tribes. The major tribes are the Missings, the Deoris, the Asunwal Kashari, the Ahom, and the Nepali. It has been in the tentative list of UNESCO since 2004. The next slide. And the mode of travel to Majuli is by boat as of now, but from the northern side, it can be accessible by road as a link has been made. Next. The staple food of the people living in the island is rice. So the paddy cultivation is the main source of income. Most of the people living in the island make the living by cultivation, paddy cultivation. Next. As you know, and also as Professor Nath has spoken elaborately, the Sattra institution is the main attraction of the Majuli island. This Sattra institution was created by Srimanta Sankardeva. It first came into being at Bardua in Nagaon in 1468, and later on it came to be established all over the state. But the speciality of the Sattras in Majuli is that they have maintained their pristine character because of the geographical isolation. Next. This is one special feature of the Sattras. The main component of the Satra is the Kirtan Ghar, that is the prayer hall. And in the prayer hall, the community prayers take place in accompaniment of music. That is a speciality of the spiritual part inside the Satra, that the community prayer is completely musical. The music is classical. The ragas composed by Shankardeva, there are 25 ragas. So they are used in different songs and also in the prayers. So this community prayer is a very special attraction of the Sattras. Next. You can see two scenes from Ankia play. Ankia play are the plays composed by Srimanta Shankardeva, and the enactment of the Ankia play is called Abhavna. So Ankia play is very important in the cultural history of entire India, because these were the first play in all the modern Indian languages. Before Shankardeva, only Sanskrit plays were composed. He was the first person in entire India to compose a play in any MIL. So that took place in Ordua, Nagaon in 1468 with the play Sina Yatra. And later on, he composed some more plays. And Majuli, being a cultural center for centuries, it has maintained it, and it has continued this feature in a vibrant manner. Next. Here you can see two scenes from the Ras festival. Ras is actually the celebration of the communion of individual self with the universal self, which is depicted very nicely in the Ankia play Keli Gopal of Srimanta Shankardeva. Keli Gopal describes the union of the gopis in Vrindavana with Lord Krishna, taking that story as the mainstay. Some modern type of, semi-modern type of plays came to be enacted in Majuli, containing some classical flavor of Shankardeva's plays at the same time. So this Ras festival became very popular for more than a century. Now it is a major festival in Majuli, and it attracts crowds from all over the globe. Next. This is Satriya Nritta. Satriya Nritta, then Sankari music, then the instrument khol, all this came into being with the Ankia plays of Srimanta Shankardeva. Satriya Nritta is one of the 8 classical dance forms in India, and it was recognized as the classical dance form in 2000. Here you can see two Satriya dancers Netsi Medi and Tyakshi Kotaki performing different postures of Satriya dance. And the Majuli Sattras, especially Uttar Kamalabari Sattra, has been very active in practicing the Satriya dance form. And Bhavananda Barban from Uttar Kamalabari Sattra, he teaches in Paris and other universities in Europe. Next. Here you can see how the youngsters in the Sattra are trained in the art of Ankiya play and Satriya Nritta. This is a scene from Uttar Kamalabari Sattra. There are some workshops sponsored by Sangeet Natak Academy, where I was also present. So every Satra trains the inmates in the cultural traditions. It's not only that they are kept to the religious or spiritual activities. They are trained in cultural activities. They are trained in agricultural activities. So it is an integral lifestyle in the satras that the inmates are brought up in. Next. This, you can see a scene from an Ankiya play. Here you can see how the characters wear different colorful costumes. And the important thing is that these costumes were designed by Srimanta Sankardeva himself, and it continues to be prepared by the inmates of the Satras themselves. So this is a major craft in the Satras. Next. Here you can see Padma Shri Hemchandra Goswami from Satra in Majuli making mask. Mask making is a major craft in Majuli. So Majuli has maintained this craft. Mask is used in the Ankiya place, especially for the non-human characters. They give some special attraction to the play, and the speciality of the mask made by Hemchandra Goswami is that he has modernized it and he has made it more comfortable to wear. His masks are exported all over the globe. Next. Here you can see an illustrated manuscript. Illustration of the manuscript with Hengul, Heital, and other dyes was an art practiced during the time of Srimanta Sankardeva, and which continued to be practiced in the Satras till one century ago. Then it became extinct, but now we have tried to revive it through our organization, Society for Srimanta Sankardeva. We have trained almost 600 youngsters all over the state in this art form. So the Satras have preserved the old manuscripts with beautiful art form. And the important feature is that the ink maintains its glaze even now. Next. Here you can see the altar of the Kirtanghar. The altar has 7 layers, and it has the sculpture of a flying lion overpowering elephant, which is a metaphor that the name of the Lord can annihilate the scene is reflected in this metaphor. And on top of the altar, there is a small box where the Bhagavat or its compendium, the Gunamala, is kept. There is no image or icon. So this is a very important feature of the Kirtan Ghar. And this wooden altar is prepared by the devotees themselves. So this sort of woodcraft are maintained in the Sattras. Next. Here you can see the craft of canned products. Making canned products is a specialty which is still maintained by the Aunati Sattra. Next. Here you can see the decoration of the walls in the Sattra with different art form. So you can find an aesthetic atmosphere all around the Sattra. Next. This is an important feature of the island, Majuli. Here you can see houses on platform. Since it is inundated by flood every year, most of the people live on the houses on platform in the island, especially those areas which are prone to flood. And next. Here you can see house on platform near the embankments. So when people houses are flooded, they shift to such houses. And out of all the tribes, the Mishing tribe, they necessarily live on such houses. It is called Sanghar. Next. As it is quite normal for an island, boat making is an important craft because people have to travel by boat to go from the main island to the small islets. And even to travel to North Bank or of the South Bank, one has to use boat. So every family necessarily owns at least one boat. Even if not required to travel to the North or South Bank, they need it at least for the flood period. So it is indispensable for all the people in the island. Next. Here you can see pottery. The Salvara village of Majuli is famous for handmade pottery. It is not made on wheel. And the soil of this village is very peculiar and suitable for pot making. So the pottery made in this locality is different from the pottery in other places. Next. Here we can see scenes of spinning and weaving. As you might be knowing, Assam has the largest number of weavers in entire India. Weaving came naturally to all the ladies here. Mahatma Gandhi said that Assamese ladies can weave dreams in cloth. So that expertise is maintained very nicely by the women of Majuli. And next. Here you can see how colorful the community life of Majuli is. You can see the tribal women coming together to prepare a beaten rice together. So this reflects the community life, the feeling of togetherness of Majuli people. Next. This is another feature of Majuli. Most of the tribes, they make their own traditional wine. And recently, government of Assam have started promoting the traditional wine of different tribes of Assam. And some people have already started packaging also. So Majuli has great potential in that regard. Next. This is a very poor reflection of the island, how connectivity is poor, how erosion has bedeviled the island over the years. You can see how I was passing while traveling to a village. Next. This is the list of the potential intangible cultural heritages which can be promoted in the representative list of UNESCO. The Nam Kirtan, community prayer, Bhavana of Ankia play, the Ras festival, Satya Nitya, mask making, illustrated manuscript, wooden artifacts, a changar, wall decoration, boat making, handmade pottery, spinning and weaving in handloom, ethnic food, and traditional wine. This has great potential for promotion in the representative list as intangible cultural heritage. Next. So these are the credits for the photographs I have used here. Dev-Goswami, Bardle, Vijay Datta, Abhishal Das, Apal Nath, and Josna Dole. Thanks to all of them. So thank you everyone for the patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your talk on the different aspects of Majuli Island, the different intangible cultural heritage. It was very enlightening. We next come to the next presenter. Hello. The next presenter, we now invite Srimati Monidipa Borkakoti, Additional Secretary of Culture, Government of Assam. A little introduction on Srimati Borkakoti is an Assam Civil Service Officer. She is currently holding the position of Additional Secretary to the Government of Assam Cultural Affairs Department. She has been working as the Managing Director, Assam State Film Finance and Development Corporation Limited since 2019. Before joining as an additional secretary, she has worked in various capacities under the government of Assam as sub-divisional officer, member secretary of Assam State Commission for Women, and additional director of Assam Administrative Staff College. Today, Srimati Monidipa Borkakoti will deliver a talk on the topic Government Action in the Context of Majuli as UNESCO World Heritage Site. Ma'am, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank coordinator of ICOMOS, Northeast Zone, Mr. Dilip Sankakuti, for giving me this opportunity. Actually, my topic was Gov Action in the context of Majuli as UNESCO World Heritage Site. So as we have already come to know that lots of attempts were made to make Majuli World Heritage Site. From government side, I think nomination of Majuli has undergone 3 previous attempts. In 2004 to 2012, the state had attempted to demonstrate Majuli as a tangible cultural world heritage and pursued under criteria 2, 3, 5, and 6. So 3 times attempted were made to make it a World Heritage Site. The nomination focused primarily on the tangible aspects of the Sattras and their contribution to natural landscape management. So that was done. Next, please. This pursuit was made with a referral and then a deferral, as it was not possible to convince the outstanding universal value to protect and management of the property, ensure development and regulation of the property within the island, and that upstream availability of funds. So these were the findings which were sent to the government, and flood was raised as a major issue and was adjudged as a threat without a solution. Next. In the most recent attempt, the horizon was broadened to prospect the most viable way forward. Instead of assuming outstanding universal value, intangible alone, and while considering the feasibility in protection and management of the property. This approach brought to light the fact that the OUV of Majuli's cultural heritage is articulated under Intangible World Heritage Convention of 2003. Under the Convention of 1972, Majuli is based approach under criteria 8, which explains the island being a one-of-a-kind geomorphological formation where flood, differential erosion, depositions are fundamental with survival. So under the Convention of 1972, it is based approach under criteria 8, which explains the island being a one-of-a-kind geomorphological formation, floods, etc., were taken into consideration for survival. In the recent past, and more since 2014, there has been ample research on earth sciences, geology, and geomorphology, which explains the Majuli's uniqueness scientifically within the ambit of Convention 1972. So Government of Assam has chosen to explore the possibility of proceedings under criteria 8 of the Convention 1972. This will aid to Majuli's importance and without hinder the recognition of its cultural values. So in this line, effort was made and dossier was sent, and it has undergone completion stage, and I am very happy to say something on that line, that the results are now coming. We have received a mail from them, it's favorable. So now the government will decide the future course of action. So we'll decide the next step, because it says completion check was done and the results are, we found it favorable. So government will decide the future course of action. So this is my small presentation. So this is in brief, what is the process is going on about declaring Majuli as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your talk. We now come, we are at our last presentation now. With that, we wrap up this first series of this webinar on Majuli. Now we would like to invite the ICOMOS officials to proceed side over a discussion, if any, and any question and answer that the participants would like to ask. I'd like to invite Professor Murthy, if you are, if you can kindly, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not available by video, but I can open my audio.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I'd like
am
to,
I audible?
yes, sir, you're audible. I'd like to invite the participants for the Q&A session. For any questions, please do ask in this part of the session.
And Mr. Dilip also would be available. Mr. Dilip Chankokoti also would be available.
Yes. Mr. Dilip, you're there?
Are you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. Then my question to Monidipa. We have submit one application to you about the Borgit and Bihu. And what is the progress?
Okay, we had a meeting on that. I think I have sent the files and we are planning to do another meeting very soon. So we'll invite you.
Yeah.
I have another question. I have a question to Monidipa ji. This is this completeness check of the dossier. When was this done, and when was this completed?
So it was sent, I think in the month of February. Yeah, I think in the month of September. Now we have received a reply from the completeness check.
Okay.
The mail. Recently we have received it.
Okay. So that is it is still awaited. From UNESCO World Heritage Center, you have received the reply already?
Yes, but it's like we have received that and we have gone through it and found somehow favorable, but government will have to work on it. Now they will have to set the final dossier.
Okay. Fine. That means government of Assam, government of India.
We said effort of government of Assam. Of course, we got like help from the ASID.
Okay.
Government effort.
If any other questions?
From outside the campus?
We have one. We have two from the. One from the chat box from Gitanjali Barua, who wanted to know about the museums in Majuli. How many museums are there? So if Dr. Borkakoti, I think you can answer this.
Actually, there are some museums made by the government of Assam in the Sattras, but the quality of those museums are very poor. And I, as an executive member of Majuli Cultural Landscape Management Authority, raised this issue in the meeting presided over by the Chief Secretary of Assam. And the Chief Secretary asked the Cultural Secretary and others to visit Majuli and report the findings to us, but that findings never reached us. And I personally visited some of the museums and found the quality very poor.
I hope
Madam,
that answers.
Can I participate, madam, please?
Yes.
I am Professor Nath. So good evening to everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to interact. Monidipa has emphasized on the tangible side, while Professor Borkakoti spoke of intangible side. So far museums are concerned, there are no museum as such in Majuli. Every hotra has its own museum, supported by government. These museums are bound to be small and limited to the Sattra. The UNESCO has put a question on the dossier submitted to it, and on the plan. I would like to say that as per Cultural Landscape Management Act 2006, the government was planning to have a plan for the protection of the cultural landscape of Majuli. According to the plan, the dossier is to include the plan. The plan was first submitted, and upon the plan, the UNESCO commented. Before revising, before considering the comment on the plan, how can the next dossier be made? The first question is raised there in the plan, that whether protection of Majuli from constant erosion could be prevented. Whether your plan to prevent the erosion could be trusted. Whether layers of embankments built one after another shall be able to protect the Majuli Island. Whether such a question is satisfactorily answered in the dossier or not. And landscape, does it mean Majuli alone or its surrounding areas? Whether the platform houses are absolutely owned by the Majuli alone, or platform houses are also there outside Majuli. Whether mask making and many other things are absolutely owned by Majuli alone, or to some other places of the neighboring area. These questions are to be dealt with in the dossier. Whether these things are included before it has been finally submitted to the UNESCO. These will be some of the very important matters, I believe, to understand before we take up the matter again. I believe the result will be positive. We have potential enough. But so far the Sattras are concerned, the UNESCO has put a question whether the Sattras, every Satra has a museum or not. Whether every Satra has recorded its items of artifacts or not. Whether the Satras are using the natural materials for its building purposes or not. Every Satra house is made up of concrete materials, artificial and modern materials. No Satra house is now made of thatch, bamboo, and reed. These are some of the questions raised by UNESCO, as far as I know, whether these things are taken into account or not.
One of the speakers like to answer to some of the questions.
May I add to the query raised by Professor Nath?
May I please, excuse me, am I audible?
Can we, we'll just, if Dr. Sanjib can answer the first question first, we'll come to your question.
Professor Nath has raised the important issue of the master plan. Government of Assam entrusted the Government of India organization, WAPCOS, WAPCOS, to prepare a master plan. And a summary of that plan was submitted before the Executive Committee of the Majuli Cultural Landscape Management Authority. And we were told that later on will be shown the elaborate plan, but the elaborate plan never reached us. So without the Majuli Landscape Management Authority approving the master plan, the government of Assam cannot go for the next dossier, as rightly pointed out by Professor Nath. So there have been a lot of administrative lapse on the part of government of Assam, especially by the Majuli Cultural Landscape Management Authority, which is headed by the Chief Secretary. And the most important point is that the Majuli Landscape Management Authority has to sit twice a year, but there has been no sitting for the last 3-4 years. So there are gross lapses on the Majuli front.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Next, Mr. Mitul Barwa would like to ask a question.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, my apologies. I wanted to attend the whole event, but for some reason I couldn't connect, and it kept failing. So I might have missed some of the conversation. I joined late, so that's my apology. But I have a question and a few comments. I am from Majuli. I grew up there, and I teach at Ashoka University now in Sonipat, Haryana. So my question is, and this is because I'm not very tuned into this conversation on UNESCO heritage site. So I was wondering why this distinction between tangible and intangible. So is it because, and this is my ignorance, is it because, we failed to go with the tangible criteria, therefore we need to now emphasize on intangible? If that is the case, then this is a weak argument, right? So if you could please clarify that. Why kind of this distinction from moving from tangible to intangible? Few of my comments are I joined when Dr. Sanjib Kumar Borkakoti was actually presenting, and I saw that he was emphasizing on the intangible. Very interestingly, I'm sorry to say, but even someone kind of from Majuli, I found some of the emphasis on things such as ethnic food and rice beer and changar, etc. To me, I don't think they're at all unique to Majuli. Those you find everywhere in Assam. Like you find changar all over. You have rice beer made by different tribes in Assam, and in fact, something like ethnic food is a problematic category, right? So if we are emphasizing on those as some categories based on which Majuli should get I think it's problematic. I think we need to focus on some more solid intangible categories. And I actually, in fact, would emphasize that if we are looking at intangible, instead of something very generic, such as ethnic food and rice beer, which is kind of, I think in Northeast, it's overdone. Everybody claims that. I think we should look at something unique to Majuli, such as, I would emphasize the resilience of people. I think it's a place which is, unlike many parts of Assam, is battered by erosion and flood, and which is actually my own research. It's amazing how local people in the, like riverside villages are living in that landscape, adapting their resilience, and that is intangible. I think that is something we need to emphasize. I think that will make our case stronger. And I very much second what Dr. Nath was saying, Professor Nath was saying about also how, whether we have addressed those issues about flooding and erosion and, roll-up embankments and so on. So these are some of my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If Professor Nath would like to give a reply to Mr. Barwa's question.
So it was a question to Professor Nath. So
I have no more question, but I have to make my mind clear that tangible, intangible should not be distinguished. That cultural site and cultural landscape should be distinguished. When we speak of cultural landscape, it does not include Majuli alone. It may include Majuli and its surrounding areas. Cultural landscape is a territory where loosely or strongly some culture prevails. So we should understand in this way. Then, so far, these changing patterns are concerned. Actually, those things which are getting fast changed, this should be avoided in the making of the dossier. Those things which are remaining more or less constant, which can be protected and preserved, this can be identified and showcasing. These things should be included and given priority in the making of the dossier. These are some of the things I believe should be taken into consideration. As far as the making of the next dossier, finalizing the next body of the dossier is concerned, my suggestion is that you go into detail, minutely, line after line, what the UNESCO reports on the last dossiers, what the UNESCO say on the plan submitted to it for examination. So the master plan as well as the early dossiers, upon them what was exactly the comment of the UNESCO. This should be minutely studied and should be very seriously discussed. I told Janardan once upon a time that after making your dossier final, you should go between the lines between the stakeholders. You organize a workshop and discuss every sentence of your dossier between the lines, between the stakeholders. And when every stakeholder says yes, then you write it down. But he did not do it. So when you finally prepare the dossier should be made in such a way that there should be no or very little to be questioned from the side of the UNESCO. This is what my comment is. I have no further question. I thank Professor Kakoti for bringing out a very important aspect of Majuli's heritage value. But these two are getting gradually eroded.
Okay, sir.
Careful about.
Sir, thank you so much for your comments.
If I may take like a second, can I please just add to?
Actually, we would like to answer the other questions also, which were there. We'll just come back to you. This is from Apur Bhajioti. How is the issue of outstanding universal value going to be addressed in the next dossier? So if one of the speakers can answer this question.
Next dossier, I think certainly is required. I am Murthy, Surya Narayan Murthy.
Yes,
and thank you, Professor Dambarudhar Nath, sir. I fully agree with you, and I remember the guidance and suggestions you have told during the several meetings and also during phone conversations. I would like to just mention that there is a news now given by our additional secretary stating the dossier is already prepared and now it has been submitted to UNESCO, and it went to UNESCO in February this year, and now it is sent for completeness check. That is the news for us right now in this particular meeting today. So now the contents, I think it must have been already deliberated by the government of Assam during last 2-3 years. Because I remember during 2017 and 18, they started preparing a new dossier. I think it must have taken to a shape by this time. This is very much a news for me, and also I feel that even others also may be knowing it for the first time today. So tomorrow I will be presenting the complete status of this dossier when I am doing it. I think tomorrow we can discuss something in detail on. I have noted the points raised by several people right now, and I will try to bring out some more information tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question that we have is by Ms. Asmita Chauhan. Communities of Majuli have been safeguarding their intangible culture significantly in sustainable manner. Therefore, what are the forces outside or inside that are leading to the unsustainability over time?
So who will answer this question?
Sir, would you like to answer this?
No, we would have to.
Or Dr. Borkakoti can answer this, because
I think questions we will reserve. Some questions will be answered, but please note down, and I think by tomorrow everything will be completely in discussion, because there are some questions which cannot be answered immediately, and also we will take these points. We will note these points certainly.
For example,
Okay.
one minute, please. For example, one of the most important intangible culture is manuscript writing, painting, and preserving. The art of manuscript writing, painting, and preserving. Vedic literature in India has been preserved without any error, without any change, through orality and commemoration in the family life. In Majuli, people do not know how to read the manuscripts. How can you preserve a culture that you cannot read? So answer lies there. What steps you will take, answer lies there. Number two, the craft. The other craft, for example, this Rak festival. Professor Kakoti has pointed out the Rak festival based on the Raha Panchadhyaya of Bhagavata Purana, based on the Keligopala Nataka of Srimanta Shankara. Raha Panchadhyaya. The Raha Panchadhyaya had been done these days by professional artists borrowed from Bombay, Madras, Delhi, and other places. And it has been modernized in such a way to showcase it as a commercial item. It will not last if so happens and continuously done. Similarly, the art of making houses in Majuli, the platform houses, the typical Kshatriya bohas, the cottages of the inmates of the Sattras are all made of concrete materials. All buildings are made of concrete materials. So how can you preserve the intangible value of these crafts if we use all the modern techniques and commercialize? How can you do it? So you have to prevent either use of the modern commercial materials, or you have to prevent the process of commercialization. So this is how some things could be done, but whether people are ready to do it or not, that is not known immediately. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Evital,
think-
let me make one point
Yes,
before you
yes.
conclude.
Okay, sir.
Some question was there that I tried to make a shift from tangible to intangible, but it is not like that. Just because I talked about intangible does not mean that I want to shift from tangible. Actually, intangible is necessarily a part of tangible. In any UNESCO proposal for a tangible heritage, you have to include the intangible features also in it. So it is not about shift. Secondly, I talked about some 15, 20 intangible features, including rice beer. That does not mean that all those are equally important. We can promote only one or two. For entire India, there have been only 14 intangible cultural heritages recognized by UNESCO. So we cannot promote 15 or 20. We can promote the manuscript painting, because manuscript preparation and painting, which is very important, as has been pointed out by Professor Nath also. So please don't confuse. I did not make any shift. It is both are complementary. Tangible and intangible go hand in hand. But at the same time, we can try for one of the intangible for inclusion in the representative list. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the clarification. With that, we come to the end of the first session of the webinar series. I, on behalf of ICOMOS India Northeast Zone, would like to thank all the esteemed guest speakers for giving us their time to deliver topics which give us an insightful look at the different cultural heritage values of Majuli. And we shall continue this webinar series tomorrow at the same time with five topics which will be looked at. The first one will be by Professor Nalini Thakur on the public relation on Majuli, mass communication and its reaction. The second one by Professor Nath and Dr. Ananda Hazarika on socio-economical profile of Majuli. Then we'll have the third one by Dr. Arun Kumar Sarma on the bottlenecks and remedies of Majuli as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Then the fourth one, we're having the talk by Professor Murthy on the experience of the dossier status of Majuli nomination. And the last one will be by Dev-Goswami Saikia, which will be on the overview of the event from the ground. So we can continue the question and answer again tomorrow. Thank you so much to all the participants and especially to our esteemed guest speakers today. And we hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.